Hi, I'm Desi Serna, author of Fretboard Theory, Guitar Theory for Dummies, and Guitar Rhythm and Technique for Dummies. In this free guitar lesson, I'm going to show you a couple of parts from the song Gloria, as written and made famous by Van Morrison when he was part of the band called Them. This lesson is suitable for experienced beginners and maybe intermediate level players on up who are already familiar with guitar chords and strumming technique. You can follow along with free guitar tab. Just go to the link in the video description. To get my sound for this song, I'm playing a Paul Reed Smith DGT guitar. I'm using the bridge humbucker. I'm plugged into a Fender Pro Junior amplifier, and I've got it set at just about the edge of breakup so it's not completely clean. And I'm actually not using the speaker on it. I'm going through this Rivera Silent Sister isolation cabinet, which has a 12-inch Celestion Vintage 30 speaker, and then I'm adding some reverb at the soundboard. All right, so let's get started on the parts. Make sure you have the tab in front of you. I've got it in front of me here, and I'll be referring to it as I teach. So the basic chord changes here are E, D, and A. This is like an E mixolydian mode chord progression. You might recognize A, D, and E as being the three major chords in the key of A. They are 1, 4, 5. But in this case, you're actually centering the music on the 5th degree E, creating E mixolydian mode, which is why I have a key signature for A major, not E major, because you're actually drawing your notes and chords mainly from the A major key signature, but in a modal application here. Okay, so the chord changes are pretty straightforward, but there's some weird stuff that happens with some open strings added and lifting your fingers. So you've got E, D, A, and E, however you want to finger them. And here's how the actual strum pattern goes. It goes. At least that's how I play it. So a couple things to point out here is that you lift your fingers off the chords early in order to get to the next chord in time. And this also then kind of incidentally introduces some notes that are not related to the chords and actually a little bit out of key, but it all comes together to make something that sounds cool. So you start on the E and you play 1 and 2. This is an 8th note strum pattern. So you strum it down, up, down. And then as you come up, you lift your hand off the E. If you look at the tab, you actually just you play some of the first few strings open, including the open 3rd string G natural, which would be out of key. And that gives you a little extra time to move your fingers over to the D chord, and then you come down on D. And let's practice just that chord change there. So it's. Let me do that again. And then you use the same type of technique as you transition from D to A and then A back to E. So from that D chord, after you hit it once, as your pick comes up, you lift your fingers and play those open strings again, and you come down on A. So from the beginning. Actually, I like to play A like this. So. Memorize that, rehearse it, and work on increasing your speed. After that A, you lift your fingers again, and you come at the strings with an upstroke, and you move your fingers to the E chord, and you start over. So, in my book, Guitar Rhythm and Technique for Dummies, I teach reading rhythms, playing basic rhythms, playing strum patterns, strumming technique, and that sort of thing. And one of the things I mentioned is that on guitar, it's really common to lift your fingers off chord shapes early in order to be able to make the chord change and get to the next chord in time. Sometimes this means that you incidentally might play some open strings which may or may not be related to the chords in the key. Sometimes players will end up just playing some muted strings. But this is actually not cheating. It's a necessary way to keep up with chord changes. And it also has become, it also has just become a technique that gives guitar its unique characteristic sound. We kind of have come to expect these sort of sounds added to guitar chord changes. They kind of fill in the space and make it work out. So, and this is a great example of it. And this is how I typically play it. But as I was listening to the song, preparing for this lesson, it actually sounds like the you lift your fingers off that E chord even a little bit earlier. So here's an alternate way that you could try to do it. If you're looking at the tab again, you could actually lift your fingers and play the open strings on right on beat 2 and also on the anded 2. So that would be like this. You'd go. So you could try that as well. You know, this song, Gloria here, it's got kind of a rawness to it. So playing the chords a little bit, if your rhythm's a little loose and you've got some of these notes that are unrelated that create a little bit of dissonance, it kind of adds to the character of this song. It adds to that rawness. So you can experiment with that. You may not want to go that far with adding all those open strings with every song that you play, but it does work in this song. All right, now we're going to take a look at the next part, which I call the interlude. It sounds like this. And this is the main reason why I wanted to do a lesson on this song, because I like these little fragmented chord shapes that are used in here. And I talk about using fragmented chord shapes or partial chord forms when I teach the cage system, which is a whole method for learning how chords are built on the fretboard and how you can play arpeggio patterns and different chord shapes and fingerings and inversions and all sorts of stuff. I'm not going to get into those details now. That's covered at length in the full theory courses that I offer on the website. But here's a great example of how you can put some of this to use. So you're following the same chord changes, E, D, and A. Here they are up in a higher position. Here's an E. This is a standard E form bar chord. And here's D. And you're actually going to just reduce this to just the first few strings, just fret and play that part of the E and that part of the D. And then you're going to play A like this. Looks like a little D shape, but it's moved up here. And you could think of this as being part of a and D form. Like that. Whoops. Or you could also trace this little shape back to A and C form like this. There's A, here's a C form bar chord. So you go. Following changes that are very close to what you do down here. A little bit different, but it all comes together and works. Now, you can finger this A with 3 fingers like that. I actually do it like this. I bar with my first finger and put my middle finger in between. I do that on this song for this reason. It's easier for me to go when I'm playing up to tempo, because you got to play this kind of quickly. It's easier for me to do that than to go. But you can do it in any manner that works for you. Next, I want to talk about the rhythm. This song actually features some quarter note triplets. So notice when you look at the music how you got those brackets in 3. So for every 2 beats of music, 1, 2, 3, 4, you're actually going to play 3 evenly spaced notes. So I talk about this a little bit in my rhythm and technique book. So it ends up sounding like this. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's our quarter notes. But quarter note triplets are going to sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that's the rhythm that you play this part in. I was using downstrokes there. Sometimes I like to use upstrokes. It doesn't matter, however you want to do it. So that's the other guitar part that I wanted to show you. I like the fragmented chord pieces here. You know, when I teach the cage system, you know, I always emphasize that you want to think outside of the box. You don't always need to be stuck playing just standard bar chords, standard chord shapes. You can break them up. You can fragment them. You can play whole arpeggio patterns and build different fingerings and chord voicings and inversions from them. And then I love how this also has some variation in the rhythm as well by introducing some of these quarter note triplets. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this free guitar lesson. If you would like to learn more about music theory for guitar, including guitar scales, chords, progressions, modes, the so-called cage system, and more, then visit my website at guitar-music-theory.com. That's guitar music theory with dashes in between the words. When you get there, sign up to join my email list. You can receive some free materials, and you can preview my full theory courses that I offer. Well, thanks for watching. Please click like on this video and leave me some positive comments.